It's a good time to be a Fate fan. With Apocrypha finishing up, Fate's adaptation of Extra coming out next season, with the Heaven Feels movies coming out right now, with Fate Grand Order doing really well in North America right now. There's a lot of Fate content, and it's a really good time to be a Fate fan. But I just wanted to kind of break down why I believe Fate is really successful, why a lot of people get into it really easily and really like it and become really involved with this really huge series with so many spin-offs. I kind of want to give you my ideas as to what is the appeal of Fate. And so there's kind of two parts to the appeal of Fate, I believe. The first one is familiarity. This is how Fate grabs you initially. So it's commonly known that you are likely to be more open to and more easily like things that you are already familiar with. The more you become familiar with something, typically the more open to it you are, and the more easily accepting of it you are. This is how pop music works. All the repetition, doing the same thing over and over, listening to the same song over and over, it starts to grow on you because you're familiar with it. It becomes a part of you. You become more open to it and more accepting of it. And Fate plays with this idea of familiarity on just the initial system with which it's built. So, for those of you who don't know, the concept of Fate is this holy grail war in which a bunch of mages uh, get together and essentially fight each other in a free for all. And the mages fight by summoning heroic spirits. They are spirits of legend that come either from real people that became a big name for themselves, from urban myths, from mythological stories, from all of these kind of places. And the mages summon these servants, these heroic spirits, to fight for them. But these heroic spirits are uh, famous famous people, famous persons. They are people that we know, people that we are familiar with. And so when Fate starts off, and whichever Fate incarnation, likely either Fate Zero or Fate Stay Night that you started with, and the main person summons Saber, who is, spoiler alert, sorry, King Arthur, you're like, whoa, that's King Arthur. That's awesome. I know about King Arthur. I like Arthurian legend. Where's this going? You already have that initial attraction to this character, that initial liking of them. Um, and so you initially start rooting for them because you already know of that story. And so before you really meet them, before you really know who they are within the Fate universe, you know who they are in legend. And that gives you that attraction to them. And so then that starts setting you up for all of these other servants that you meet, like, oh, who could this be? And then you start to learn about them through what they're doing. But then once you learn who they really are, it adds this extra depth to their character, and it's like, whoa, Cuchulain, whoa, like the super cool Irish myth guy, I know him. Wow, he's just as awesome as in the stories or whatever. And so you have that extra attraction. It's that familiarity. It draws on your past knowledge of these characters to make them attracted to you even more, right? And it's just based on the way the system works, but it's a really, really easy way to get somebody into it and get involved in it. Because if you start watching this and you're a fan of Arthurian legend, you're a fan of these Irish legends, you're a fan of freaking Gilgamesh or whatever, then you already have that familiarity and you have that spark to get you into it. You already have the system to draw you in. And then once you're drawn in, the second big thing that Fate is based on, the second big appeal of Fate are the waifus. Okay, so what do I mean by the waifus? Um, it's how attractive and how attached you get to these characters. Because yeah, King Arthur comes out, but it's a girl, and it's a really cute girl, right? And it's one that forms a relationship with the main character, and with the viewer or the player if you play the VN. And so you start becoming attracted, you start gaining a connection to these characters. And so when Fate originally came out too, it was an eroge. Not necessarily because the creator always wanted it to be, but because those were the only type of popular visual novels at the time. All the To be popular, you had to be an eroge, and so by necessity, they made it like that. And part of that is making these characters really, really attractive that you come into contact with, making them really likable that you want to be with them. So you have Saber, who's adorable. And then you have Rin, like the tsundere, that is a bunch of people will fall in love with. Sakura, although I haven't actually seen Heaven's Feel, so I can't comment on that. But BB and Extra is great, so you know what? I'll include her too. But you start getting an attraction to these characters, and not just the female ones too. The male characters are also built in this way. Shiro is a classic tragic hero, but the dude like is a mom. He cooks so well. Archer as well is just like a homekeeper and cooks and everything. Gil, if you like those arrogant pretty boys, Gil's your guy. Ku is just a huge bro. The characters are built to be super likable. If you started with Fate Zero, Iskander, oh my god, he's amazing. He's awesome, huge bro. All this, it's all built on these characters and defining this relationship with these characters. And that this is like what the backbone of Fate really is. Once you start getting into it, it's forming the relationship with these characters, um, and really getting involved with them. And so then this ties back to the familiarity aspect of well, because these characters start reoccurring through all of the instances of Fate, right? So Fate has its main series. It has Stay Night, and then it has kind of a sequel, Hollow Ataraxia. But then it has all of these spin-off series that are almost unrelated to the main narrative, but all these characters keep reoccurring. Rin is in like every iteration of Fate except for Apocrypha, I think. Saber, Artoria appears in a bunch of places. She's a poster girl of Fate. But not only does she appear, but you have the concept of the Saber face, a bunch of characters that look like her. So you start a Fate Extra and you pick the Saber class, and you get this red Saber, but she looks like the original Saber. So you have that familiarity and you have that initial attraction to her. You watch Apocrypha, and then Mordred gets summoned, and it's like, wait, Mordred, the son of original Saber, and there's that relationship, and it's a relationship that's used and talked about. And then Jean comes up, and Jean looks just like her, and then you already knew about Jean because in Fate Zero, Giles was freaking out about how Saber looked like Jean. So it's all connected and it plays with this familiarity. And even though these are completely separate universes, timelines, and everything, all of these play in together. Oh, you really liked Ilya in Fate Stay Night? Well, here's her own spin-off series where she can transform into all these other people. Oh, but Ren and Shiro are still there. They're constantly bridging between all these by taking these same characters that they made you love in one place and bringing them to all of the others. And that's how Fate works. And so then you get a culmination of this in something like Fate Grand Order, the mobile gacha game, which just about collecting these characters that you've grown to love and like being able to be their master on your own and have all of these servants, all of these characters that you've developed relationships with through all this other media. And then that starts expanding through memes and the community. Like there's this guy on the Grand Order subreddit that makes these comics about King Hassan. He is the founder of a gigantic band of assassins, and this dude is a giant skeleton in armor on fire. He looks like the Skull Knight from Berserk on fire. This dude is hardcore and seriously freaky looking, but this guy who draws the comics calls him Gramps. He formed a relationship between the main character of Grand Order and this giant skeleton guy, where the skeleton guy acts like a loving grandpa to the main master, to this little girl. And so you have this big skeleton dude who's just like a grandpa, and this dude posts so many comics about this and draws so many comics. And like I'm reading them, and I'm like, damn, once this dude comes out, I want to roll for him because I want Gramps. You see, I already start forming that relationship with him. And that's where Fate excels. It's just such a wide cast of characters, all super unique with a bunch of different personalities that makes it really easy for you to find somebody that you have a connection with, you have some relationship with, and then it builds on that relationship, and then it takes that to other works in the Fate series, so that it's so much easier to go from one to another. So I start playing Fate Granddaughter, and I'm like, whoa, this Tamamo no Mae, hella cute, awesome. Who is she? I want to learn more about her. So now I'm playing Fate Extra and going through all that kind of stuff, and that's how it gets you. That's how it gets you into there. That's how it just sucks you in. But of course, this means that if you're not somebody who very values familiarity that much, if you get tired of seeing things repeated, then Fate's not going to be for you. If you don't easily form relationships with characters and you don't like just indulging in this kind of world, then Fate's not going to be for you. And so it's completely understandable and very easy to not be attracted to this kind of system, to really not like Fate, because it is based around this system of just forming relationships and liking characters, and a lot of times characters that you know are going to die, because based on the nature of the series and of this Holy Grail War, most of these characters are going to die. They're like all going to die, but that's okay because you enjoy them while they're there. uh, and it really sucks you in because once you find one of them that you really like, once you start watching Apocrypha and you're like, Astolfo is literally the greatest thing that's ever been created. Well, Astolfo comes out in Fate Grandeur, so now you're playing that. And then you're finding another one that you really like. You're like, whoa, Nero's amazing. So now you're playing Extra. And that's how it draws you in, by connecting all of its works through all this familiarity and by drawing you in with its characters. And that's what Fate's all about. And that's how it gets you. And that's about it. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been PhysAnime, and I'll see you next time.